Then you need social safety nets for the poor to ensure inclusive growth while maintaining macroeconomic stability. So you saw images of all those poor migrants leaving your cities because the cities no longer had jobs for them, because people were no longer willing to keep them in their garages or wherever it was that they worked. So yesterday, those people were walking very calmly with their children on scooters or taking autos or just walking and carrying their suitcases and the children on the suitcases. Tomorrow, the same people may revolt if you don't look out for them. So this is something we had not realized earlier, but the pandemic has shown us that this is also very something which can happen. Then the banking sector has shown you that you have to follow a supply leading approach. How much time do we have? We have time. And so we need to do a lot for our banking sector. So you have to manage a growth inflation dynamic. You can't have too much of inflation. I'm trying to see how much time I have. 4 minutes. Then you have to mitigate the vulnerability of your external sector. Your exports are not going to grow because there's synchronized slowdown. And you have to manage the fallout of fiscal expansionism. So what has the pandemic changed forever? It has changed the way we live, the way we think, and the way we work. So the way you work, you now work from home. That's the new norm. So it has its upsides, but it has its significant downsides. What are the upsides? No commute. You're in your own house, no traffic, hassles, no tiredness, no horns honking. But at the same time, there's no one you can immediately seek guidance from if you get stuck. There's no cooler where you can go and have a chat. There's no coffee break. There's no human interaction. All that has slowed. There's no grapevine. There's no gossip. It's a dull day. And when you grow a little older and you have children and you have a house to run, your dual responsibilities will keep impinging. Because in the middle of your conference, your maid will come and ask, what am I to cook for you today? So because, then everybody perceives that you're at home. When you go to office, you get a change from home also. You see, you leave your husband, you leave your children, you have a change. You go out into the world. You leave your parents who probably tell you that be back home before 6 and don't delay. And if you want to detour for a coffee, you again call them and say that I'm held up at work, and everybody accepts that you are held up at work. So social interaction has ceased. Social interaction was ceasing even earlier. In my day, when you had friends, you went to their house and you had a cup of tea or coffee with them. If there was a family celebration, then relatives dropped in. Today, even if there's a wedding, we do it over a Zoom.
Yes, that's happening, the current trend.
Correct. Now, the companies, even when they have their annual general meeting, which is a meeting with the shareholders of the company and all the people who are inferior people, they are isolated and even excluded from formal education. Now, I told you about the second problem. I told you that aviation and telecom, many sectors were facing difficulty. Not telecom, hospitality sector and competition, which banks had never dreamt of. So these are new things happening. Payment systems, a lot of payment systems are increasing. And payment and settlement systems, they were growing by 44.1% in terms of volume. Now, healthcare, pandemic planning and monitoring, you have apps like Arogya Setu.
Yes.
Which tell you who has COVID around you, which you never had. You have surveillance, you have testing, you have contact monitoring. If somebody gets contracts COVID in your building, you will come to know. Technology. Okay. Internet usage has increased. E-media explosion is there. E-commerce is there. Amazon comes every day. E-education is there. And e-banking. So these are all new sectors, but there is a deepening divide here also, and increasing digital apartheid, which we will have to try and bridge to mainstream the marginalized. Mainstream, bring them as producers and consumers of goods and services. Now, exclusion means that they are excluded if they don't have a bank account. It's just not, they have all the services which a bank account provides. Ask me how. They borrow from relatives and friends. They borrow from the market. So they have to pay very, very high interest rates on that borrowing. So supposing you live in Navsari, you have an aunt and you have a grandmother in Navsari, and you are working here, and you want to send money, then you find somebody who's going to Navsari, give that person the money, who acts as a carrier for that money. He can say it got lost halfway. So you are effectively excluded from the payment system. Now that has changed. Now through